Greetings, this is your guy Dennis Fair, retired member of the Metropolitan Police Department, serving 29 years straight from June the 4th of 1990 to June the 8th of 2019. 29 years straight, but you know that if you've seen some of these videos already. The opinions that I give are strictly my opinions. I'm not affiliated with any organization. Strictly my own opinions. Been a minute since I've been on here. Nothing went down. I just wanted to give the chief of police a little time to see if she would turn things around because I did make some critical comments about her, and some individuals say, "Hey, look, give her a chance first, as she just came in. Give her a chance." Well, I gave her a chance, and I'm sure you have as well. What you think? What's really changed? Chief of Police, the new Metropolitan Police Department chief, former from Park Police. What has changed? I mean, give it some thought. If you think something has really changed significantly in a more positive aspect, feel free to drop some comments. Of course, subscribe. I'm not doing this for monetary. This is just strictly me just giving my opinion. There's no hidden agenda. You subscribe. I mean, of course, that's always good. I guess the first thing I want to say is Happy New Year. There's a lot been going on. I just been taking it easy, watching what's going on. Like I said, I wanted to get his chief a chance before I start being extremely critical of the job. I mean, when you take that job as chief of police, just like Chief Conti, you know, of course, there's always promises, and you know how it goes. When anybody takes a position of what they're going to do, often that doesn't happen. It's totally the opposite. For the most part, if you've been watching the news lately, 3 D.C. police officers were shot. I believe that was, I'm trying to think when that was. That was Wednesday. That was a 13-hour standoff on Hannah Place, I believe, southeast. That was an arrest warrant originally for cruelty to animals. Now, that's not considered a high-risk warrant. So often, sometimes police officers and those that are on that warrant don't really take that really serious. Not saying that they just went in there relaxed, because I wasn't there, but it's very likely that they did. It's a cruelty to animal warrant. I mean, so it's not considered, unless there's intelligence that the individual is going to be armed or it's a highly violent individual. Anytime you serve an arrest warrant, you have to be aware of the circumstances, and you cannot assume that it's going to work out well. The individual had over 30 dogs. It was, I believe, 3 rifles. Was it 3 handguns? I think 3 handguns recovered, 2 rifles, a bulletproof vest, and over hundreds of rounds of ammunition. So, I mean, I get the whole voices in his head and thing, but clearly these voices in his head told him how to get illegal guns and told him how to get bulletproof vests. So that's a whole nother issue. I get the whole mental health issues and what have you, but likely what happened, and you can probably see some of the video, I think it was captured on either Ring or the other doorbell camera. You can see one of the, it looks like a female officer running. She wasn't even up there where the door was. It looked like she was near a police car. It didn't look like they were taking it very seriously. Anytime you serve a warrant, it could go bad real quick. If you're just serving a child paternity warrant or something like that, a paternity warrant, it could go from simple to deadly in seconds. You don't know the mindset of the individual you're getting ready to take their freedom. 9 times out of 10, what happened in this particular case, they served the warrant, they knocked on the door, and they stood in front of the door. That's the worst thing you can do. Most of the times prior to retirement, if we got a call for a noise complaint, domestic violence in progress, when we got to that door, we would stand to the side of that door and listen before we did anything. And often when we knocked on the door, we never stood in front of the door. Training with the Metropolitan Police Department is watered down. It's not what it used to be. A lot of things they don't really go over because they want to basically be politically correct. They don't really want to go hardcore because they're scared that they might offend someone. Like I told you before, you can no longer call rookies, you know, upon them coming, because that's considered, you know, making the work environment hostile. Yeah, exactly. Not to mention, you're going to be called everything once you get on the street anyway but a child of God. You're going to be called racial slurs. It's going to be F the police. It's going to be you sell out and everything else. So if you can't be prepared in the academy and then you go on the streets and you called everything, that's why most of these officers clueless once they get on the street because they haven't even came close to experiencing what they're going to experience on the street. You can't really simulate the streets in the police academy, but you can damn near come close. But nowadays they don't want you to curse at the not I can't call them rookies. They don't want you to curse at the new recruits. They want you to pretty much kiss their ass, to be brutally honest. And that's not how it goes, because on the street it's not going to work like that. You're going to be thrown in the fire. Now it's up to you to either put out the fire or you're going to burn up. And when I say burn up, that basically means you're going to have a harsh career, or eventually you'll quit or you'll do something dumb that gets you terminated. However, with this issue, it's likely they did not take it seriously as they should have. I mean, cruelty to animals, how bad could it get? Oh, it got real bad. I believe one officer got shot maybe 2 or 3 times in the chest, in the upper torso area, but his bulletproof vest saved him from getting actually the rounds penetrated. Of course, he's going to be extremely sore. And from my understanding, I think one of the officers has hand injuries, and one of them has injuries to the lower extremities. Now, of course, they say non-life threatening. Let me explain to you about that. When you get shot, and of course, I don't know by experience, but I know individuals that have been shot, it doesn't mean necessarily that it's okay. And I get it, it's non-life threatening. Well, it's a threat to life anytime you've been shot, because a lot of times, depending on the fragments of the bullets that can be removed, depending on where these officers got shot, they may not be able to perform their duties. Now, obviously, the police department, you saw them on TV, they will welcome them out of the hospital, and everybody was smiling and all that, and that's cool and all. However, once all that dies down, you go to the police clinic, and eventually they'll see what it's going to look like as far as you return to duty. If for some reason you cannot return to duty, depending on your time served, and meaning if you don't have enough time to retire, and even if you do have enough time to retire, they can retire you on a disability. Once they retire you on a disability, you basically get a percentage of a percentage, which you cannot live off of. The thing about that is, if you go over that percentage, you won't be able to basically collect the disability. It's a lot of things that go with that disability. It may sound good, but you can't work certain jobs because that'll defeat, the disability. Okay, if you can do this while you're getting a disability. So it's a very slippery slope with the whole disability. And the thing is, getting shot in the ankle or in the lower extremities, depending on what that bullet hit, if it's inside of a bone, you may have discomfort, arthritis, or all types of pain for the rest of your life. So, I mean, it's downplayed, and to see him coming out of the hospital, wheelchair, everybody smiling. That's just the beginning of it, because the department will turn their back on you in a heartbeat and retire you, especially if you do not have ample time on. They'll just wash their hands with you, and that's just a fact. I've seen it happen. I've seen individuals, as they got closer to retirement, all of a sudden they get called to the clinic, their blood pressure was high. So, they want to play the blood pressure game. Now, mind you, they haven't been doing a consistent checks and monitoring things like that, as you're supposed to do yourself. But when you go to the police clinic, a lot of that equipment is not accurate. Prime example, and this is off the subject, a lot of times when I will go, instead of using a thigh cuff, because like I said, if you have large arms or anything, you work out halfway, the cuff is going to be extremely tight. And a lot of times my doctor would say, hey, when they took your blood pressure, I understand they keep saying it's high. Did they do it manually? I said, no, they never did it, man. He said, when was the last time that stuff was calibrated at that police clinic? I told him I have no idea. He just shook his head. He says, your blood pressure is slightly elevated, but it's not what it was according to this thing at your police academy. He says, did they take your blood pressure as soon as you walked back there? I said, absolutely. They did take the pressure. They didn't give you time to sit down and just relax. Because as soon as you walk back there, if they take it soon, obviously you walk, it's not going to be the same as you just sit down and relax. And as what's called the white coat syndrome. You a little anxiety, you worried about, if your pressure is going to be up. Naturally, it's going to be slightly elevated. But to make a long story short, these officers are not necessarily okay. Now, of course, they'll never tell you that. When it comes down to things like that, could this have been avoided? Maybe. Of course, I wasn't there, but to get shot through the door, of course, the individual could have been angling, and even if they were on the side of the door, they still could have been hit. But most likely, they were standing in front of that door, knocking on that door, because this was not considered a high-risk warrant. It wasn't thought that the individual was armed. However, this individual, again, had, 3 handguns, 2 rifles, a bulletproof vest, and hundreds of rounds. That could have went really, really, really bad. Those officers are actually lucky that they are living. It could have went bad. It could have really went bad. They said that the individual thought that the police were coming to take their dogs. Well, that's what they were coming for. That's why he discharged the weapon. But the thing is, I get the whole mental health thing. You had enough sense to somehow acquire these handguns, the rifles, hundreds of rounds, and a vest. How does one obtain all this if he's so-called mentally challenged? Somehow he managed to get those weapons. Now, anybody knows there are individuals that I have came in contact with that had lots of clutter and, newspapers all over everything. Now, I knew in my mind that there was something mentally just wasn't there, but the individuals also had on their walls doctorates. So they graduated from well-known universities. So I'm like, wait a minute, this individual has, obviously got a doctorate. But it just goes to show you can still be somewhat, in my opinion, or maybe your opinion, mental. If I got to step over newspapers and all types of clutter to get to a room where you telling me that you thought you heard something, and we clear the scene and come to find out it's nothing. Maybe it was a rat, who knows? But the individual was like, well, I just wanted to be sure it wasn't any ghosts. So, me and the officer may be looking at each other, ghosts, and you can't laugh it off. You still have to maintain your professionalism. If this individual thinks there's a ghost in there, you have to still do your job and remain professional. Some officers probably laugh. That's not a good look. I wouldn't recommend doing it even if there weren't body-worn cameras. Today there are body-worn cameras, so obviously that would be considered conduct unbecoming, and it's likely that you would be disciplined for laughing at the individual that said that they were worried about ghosts. You just don't know what individual's mind state is. So you do your job and you leave. But in this particular case, the officers were shot. Don't know their condition. It says non-life threatening, but if you have to live your life in pain for the remainder of your life, and you may not be able to perform your duties, and they retire you on disability, what can you really do? Now, again, if you do take another job, there's going to be stipulations where you can't make a certain amount of money. Certain jobs you can't even work because that kind of defeats and goes against the disability. Well, wait a minute. If you can work here at Home Depot or Lowe's, why are you getting disability? And a lot of times that'll cancel one another, and you'll still be basically beneath the poverty line. You know what I'm saying? So it's a slippery slope. I personally think that the officers likely didn't take it as serious as it was. You got to take every warrant seriously, because even if it's something simple as a custody order, something like that, you don't know. Some people obviously hate the police. Some people, in their minds, maybe they hear voices. Maybe it was, prior military. I thought that the enemy was coming to get me. And all of a sudden, they start discharging the weapon. You're on the other side of that door. Depending on the type of weapon, it's like shooting through paper. So you're not going to really, it's not going to be a whole lot between you and that round once it hits you. And a lot of times, depending on what type of round it is, it will go through your bulletproof vest like it's paper. Fortunately, in this case, the 3 rounds, I believe it was 3 rounds that may have struck that officer. He just probably obviously going to have some serious bruising, but the bruises are better than if he didn't have that vest on. And a lot of lieutenants, a lot of captains, a lot of sergeants, and there's a few officers out there that do not wear vests. They go on the street without that stuff on. Especially your top officials. A lot of times you'll see the chief, the chiefs or police on the news or whatever, they don't have the vest on. I guess sometimes they figure you got the white shirt on, the white shirt can't turn red. And that's basically sarcasm. But what I'm saying is the white shirt means you can't be shot. Yes, you can be shot. It'll go through that shirt just like paper. Now, I knew some lieutenants and captains that actually were on the street for long periods of time. These people wore their vest every time, but these were former street officers. They weren't administrative conditioned. And unfortunately, some of them get that condition in their mind where they just don't put on a vest. So with that, I'm hoping that the officers are okay, but it doesn't, of course, when they say, again, non-life threatening, that doesn't mean that it's all over. A lot of these officers, depending on the condition of where these bullets went or what bones they hit, you just don't know. And I'm hoping that they resume their duties and things like that. And even if they do, depending on the mental state that they're in, some of them may never come back. Because after being shot like that, it can be obviously traumatic. You don't know their mind state. Everybody handles things differently. I have not been shot on the department, and I've been shot period. So I can't say what I would do or what I wouldn't do, but you saw them come out of the hospital smiling and they were in good spirits. Me personally, I don't like that kind of attention. I would have probably requested to wait till they leave or come out of the back door. I'm not coming out of the hospital smiling after I've been shot. That's just not me. I have a different mind state. That's just not me. And I know people will think, well, why would you be mad? No, I just don't want that type of attention. I just want to heal and get back to hopefully doing everything I was doing before. But I don't need all the applause and all that, because most of the time you're not going to get that applause if you didn't get shot. Most of the time, the same people that were applauding you would, in the other time, if you pull them over for a simple track violation, they're hating your guts. So, to me, it's somewhat hypocritical. You shouldn't have to get shot to be appreciated. There are some good police officers out here, and there's some ones out here that are totally the opposite. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. I never have. Some other things I just wanted to touch on. 10-year-old child shot recently. I think that, I'm trying to think where that was. That wasn't, I think that was in Hannah. Was that Hannah Place? I'm trying to think where it was. No. Saturday, 8:20. I'm trying to think. I think that might have been Saturday at 8:20, 3400 block of 13th Place Southeast. The Hannah Place, I think, was where the officers got shot. Yeah, that was Hannah Place. Saturday at 8:20, 3400 block of 13th Place Southeast. I think a mom was walking with a 10-year-old child, and some people say wrong place, wrong time, right? Okay, I get that. What is the wrong time and wrong place at 8:20? Even if you're on Southeast, and I know I get the whole Southeast is often labeled. There's some areas in Southeast that I would love to live. There's some nice places over there. I made a mistake, didn't start buying property until it's changed now. You could have got property over there dirt ball cheap in some of those locations. Now there are some spots over there going for damn near $1 million. But that's a whole nother story. But the child was walking with their mother, and shots rang out. Two groups of individuals started this exchanging gunfire, and the 10-year-old was shot in the ankle, to the best of my knowledge. Now, again, non-life threatening, but we don't know as far as what that bullet did to that child's ankle. Depending on the type of bullet or fragment, a bullet can tear through your bones, and just it can be a life disabling injury even for a child. It depends on what they have to do. If it tears the bone apart and they have to reconstruction the bone, obviously depending on how it is, one bone could cause one leg to be longer than the other or shorter than the other. It could be an issue where it disables the whole child's walking and things like that. How can you be in the wrong place at the wrong time at 8:20? This wasn't a child walking by herself. This wasn't a child just in the streets. This child was with his mother. Shots rang out. They have no regard for individuals in that area. They just started shooting. And obviously, I don't have to tell you, it's basically you can see that they can't shoot. They most of the time don't hit their target. They hit a 10-year-old. Now, of course, if this 10-year-old had got killed, it would be all over the news, just like the young kid that got killed. I think it was a couple of years ago. There was a aspiring football guy, that just was really interested in football. Could have possibly went to the NFL, but that was cut short when two neighborhoods got into it, at a block party or something. Now, again, this is something that I brought to Chief Conte, Robert Conte's attention, and former Chief Robert Conte, and former Chief Peter Newsom's attention when they invited me to that, and my wife to that ghost gun meeting after her son had got killed, Raheem Murray. Basically a political stunt, not the chief that invited me. Muriel Bowser invited us. And of course, I had brought this up before. We came to the ghost gun meeting. It was a political stunt. And, probably what bothers me the most is, again, the mayor never even acknowledged us. I mean, after the ghost gun meeting was over, she made eye contact and left with her entourage, which was an insult. But, that's cool. It's cool. You get what you expect. I wasn't surprised, but then again, I was bothered because of the form of disrespect, especially with what my wife and myself were going through. Obviously, it's her biological child. I treated him just like he was my child. So obviously, it still is frustrating for me to see her go through that and then basically get slapped in the face. You invited some man. The mayor doesn't even have the respect or decency to come over and say, my condolences or whatever. But that's to be expected. They get caught up in that political brainwashing, so they become insensitive to a lot of things that go on. But back to the kid, don't know his status, but again, he got shot in the ankle. I don't have to tell you how serious ankle injuries are when you simply sprain your ankle. We probably have all done it playing, and a lot of times when you sprain your ankle, you can't really do a whole lot until that thing heals. Imagine getting shot in your ankle, and don't imagine that because you don't want that. But getting shot in the ankle and you don't know, depending on what type of bullet it was, the caliber, depending on if it was a high caliber, it could have tore that child's. It actually, depending on the caliber, could have tore his whole leg off. And I'm hoping that didn't take place, or it's just you don't know. And again, what's really going on? Of course, the Metropolitan Police Department, the mayor, the DC Council have basically come up with I call it a stuffed cat philosophy. The stuffed cat philosophy is basically when you put a stuffed cat in the kitchen for mice. And I know that a stuffed cat, they probably not going to really come out right away. If you put a cat in the kitchen and you got mice, eventually they'll figure out that this cat is really just not going to do anything, so we can go on to resume. Same when you see police cars parked on Kennedy Street or in some other area where they're just sitting there. Eventually they know police are not going to interact with us. They're not going to stop. You can walk past a police car smoking a blunt. Although it's illegal to smoke in public space, police are not going to do anything for the most part because they don't want to get involved. They got their hands tied for the most part. There is no staffing. Of course, they're not going to tell you that. But there is no staffing. And basically, the days of proactive policing is over. And they're retiring damn near daily now. People are leaving like crazy. And with these 3 officers getting shot, the ones that can retire, they're out the door. From what I understand, people put their paperwork in shortly right after that shooting because it's just not worth it at this point. Why would you stay and do a job that you can retire from and basically save your life and save your freedom? Because if you do something and it doesn't look right, first thing they're going to do is throw you to the wolves, even if it looks right. The mayor, they're talking about all these new crime bills. It's talk. What has really happened? Nothing. Oh, it's going to pass legislation and all that. I mean, it's so bad. The NFL team, the Wizards and the Capitals, they're ready to leave. Can you blame them? Now, I don't know the whole political standpoint of that or why, but I do know that they break in the cars every single Wizards game, every single Capitals game, every single major event at that venue. They've changed the name so many times. I don't even use the name. MCI Center, Verizon Center, whatever it is now, but they know for a fact when you go to these events there, if you're not traveling by Uber or Lyft or whatever, somebody dropping you off, they have hours to break in your vehicle, take a nap, maybe eat some lunch, smoke a blunt, have some cigarettes. And I'm only saying that because there have been some theft from autos where individuals actually found cigarettes in their vehicle that had been smoked, and the individuals that owned the vehicle didn't smoke. So that's why I'm saying some things like the individuals literally smoked cigarettes while they were going through the person's contents of their vehicle. They know you're not going to leave the Beyonce show early. They know you're not going to leave the Wizards game early. So they got time to break in your car. The Metropolitan Police Department is not policing because they don't have the staff to actually police. They have a perimeter, but for the most part, they're not really rolling around doing no actual stops or paying attention to individuals in the area that look like they might be looking out for somebody that's breaking in the car. That's not happening. So if you go down there, if you got things that are visible, and even if you don't have things visible, your vehicle still could get broken into. So honestly, I suggest that if you're not catching an Uber or Lyft, avoid the area. But who would want a team or as an owner to play in a facility where your fans and your patrons of the team can't even come and enjoy the game because they're too worried about getting robbed on the way back to the vehicle or their vehicle getting broken into? I don't have to tell you the same thing goes on at the National Stadium where they break into cars, they rob people on the side streets after they leave. A lot of times they park in the neighborhoods to avoid some of the garages and things like that. Couple of drinks, individuals prey on them like wolves. They know you had a couple of drinks, catch you on the side street, not necessarily an armed robbery. 3 or 4 individuals jump out of nowhere, start swinging on you, you and your girl or your wife, whatever. You're not on. What you going to do? You're going to take a beating and you're going to give up your wallet and everything else. Now, what will solve that? A conceal and carry. I know a lot of people are not comfortable with a conceal and carry, but at this point, I'm here to tell you, as a retired Metropolitan Police Department officer, a lot of people say, "Oh, man, I can't believe you said it." Well, I'm going to say it. The Metropolitan Police Department is not going to protect you. They don't have the staffing, and the staff that they do have, the majority, not all, the majority of them are not proactively policing. So they're actually going to show up after everything is over. They're not coming. I'm telling you straight up, they're not coming. So give that some consideration when you're in your home, or use some type of have some type of defense. I'm not saying go out here and get a conceal and carry if you're not comfortable with a handgun or anything like that. But I suggest you get yourself something, whether it be mace, a nice sharp knife, or anything like that. And I get sometimes you worried about the consequences, but the objective is to live. You know what I'm saying? The objective is to live, and you got a family. Protect your family by any means necessary. Whatever it takes, you got to do what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying live in fear. I'm not saying be a prisoner in your home. Use some common sense and good judgment. Also, I wanted to touch on something else. I was actually going to get something to eat. I think it was last weekend. So this is crazy. I see a motorcade, but this is not a police motorcade. I see an actual motorcade like the Fast and the Furious. And you probably have seen this on the news. If you haven't, look up Tacoma Park where they were doing donuts and just the reckless driving and all that. So these cars are coming down Riggs Road, and I guess that's be Riggs and I'm trying to think. And I guess would that be Chillum? Well, they were coming down Riggs Road, and I saw them, and there were about 50 cars backfiring, all types of lights like the Fast and the Furious, doing donuts. I mean, they cut the traffic just like a police motorcade, stopped all the traffic so all the cars could run the red light, and they traveled down. I think I saw them traveling down Sergeant Road from Riggs. I'm trying to get my points together because it was so surprising. It caught me off guard. And sometimes you think you've seen everything, especially in law enforcement, but it's about 50 cars traveling, burning out, doing all types of, you backfiring and things like that. And at the end of the 50 cars looks a PG County police officer following them. No action. I mean, what can you do with 50 cars? But on the same note, if you don't do something at this stage of the game, where you just letting them cut traffic like it's a police motorcade. Now, I've cut traffic plenty of times on presidential details, dignitaries, where you got to cut the traffic, and they come over the radio. Okay, cut the traffic at so-and-so. Or so-and-so 1, post 6, cut your traffic, cut southbound traffic. They actually cut the traffic like law enforcement and stopped the traffic, and all the cars ran the red light, burning out, doing all types of stupid stuff, backfiring, and the police car came last behind them. Like, basically, he was telling the motorcade, just following them. I've never seen anything like that. Of course, you hear it, but to actually see it, I was in disbelief. If you could have told me that in the 90s that law enforcement would be watered down like it is now, I wouldn't have never believed this. I mean, because it's soon, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but soon they're going to be going up in the police stations, taking over the police stations. It's just, and I said it before, and I told Chief Conte at that meeting that soon, they're going to be shooting at police. Today, what are they doing? Shooting at police. There's no consequences. There's no fear of law enforcement or consequences. Now, I'm not saying you should fear the police. If you're not doing anything wrong, use common sense. And sometimes, even if you're not doing anything wrong, you got some dirty officers that's going to profile you and do things. It can't happen. I'm not going here to tell you that it can't, because it's happened to me. Because I'm a former police officer don't mean that things like this don't happen. I'm still black. You know what I'm saying? So let's just keep it 100. But on the same note, you can't allow things to just run astray. I mean, right now, the carjackings, the foolery that's going on, law enforcement basically is non-existent. In D.C., PG, and pretty much everywhere. Anytime you can have a 50-car motorcade, and you go to Montgomery County by City Place and do donuts on Fenton Street and all that, and Montgomery County doesn't do anything. Years ago, the criminals wouldn't even cross into PG County, because if you crossed, if we chased you into the county, they would come back in DC and get, like, why'd you turn around after being briefed? That's all. Nah, man, I didn't want to get caught in PG. Back in the day, if you got caught in PG County, it was a price to pay. And most of the people that's got a little age on them know that PG County was notorious back in the day. They were known to be racist, known to profile, and known to punish you. Obviously, if they caught you. And it wasn't necessarily always justified either. Now, I'm not saying to go back to that and just profiling and unnecessary uses of force and things like that. But at some point, there's got to be some consequences and some accountability. So what, you just going to let people run amok? And I mean, Montgomery County, I know that they're not as large as a Metropolitan Police Department and things like that, or PG County, what have you. But as a matter of fact, Montgomery County, most people don't know this, doesn't even have a helicopter. A lot of times they'll borrow state police helicopter, park police, or even sometimes the Metropolitan Police Department Falcon. So I get it, but I don't get it. At some point, when are you going to have some consequences? Not too long ago, individual, I think, trying to think of the name of this liquor store, but it's online with individuals, some young people went in there. I think a guy, maybe two girls, and just basically took some liquor and walked out. And they're on video, and they try to stop him. And as the guy gets outside, he pulls a gun out. Now they don't really have masks on or anything, so it shouldn't be hard to find. But it just goes to show you how dumb people are and what they're willing to do for a few bottles of liquor. And this wasn't cases of liquor; they only grabbed enough liquor where they could carry. So you're gonna take a risk and catch a robbery beef on a robbery charge. And well, at this point, when you pull a gun, it's ADW gun, and over some liquor. I mean, at this point, like I said, I don't get it. I personally, talking to some of the officers that I've worked with and things like that, fentanyl is really a big thing there. I don't know if you all have also seen on the news, I think a baby just overdosed. I don't know the exact location, but the mother, I think she's 27 years old, has been charged with the murder of the child. The baby basically got a hold of some Percocets laced with fentanyl and ate him, and the baby obviously died. Now, obviously, this same female had been contacted by Child Protective Services 2 times prior to this in reference to leaving, I think, the children at home or something to smoke marijuana or something else happened. But basically, the system failed the child. You know what I'm saying? I can't really speak on the mother, but the system failed the child because that child, unfortunately, shouldn't have had to succumb to that. When you are a child and obviously you have a mother, the mother's supposed to be the protector. Now, you so high, you laying around, you leaving Percocets around. And now you're not talking about Percocets from a dog. We talking about stuff that you buy from the street. From my understanding, they had M stamped on them and things like that. The Percocet and I think it was a Xanax found also. This is all on the internet. If you look up child dies from fentanyl overdose in Washington, D.C. I think it was in Southeast as well. However, the thing is about this, when you think about this is a child, you know what I'm saying? The child probably didn't know what it was, or you leave Percocets on the bed with an infant, you know, but there's 9 times out of 10 the same female was probably high. The Xanax, the Percocet is a big thing there amongst the youngins in D.C. and just in the DMV area. I don't know what it is. You know, years ago in our era, if you was on pills, you was a dope fiend, we look down on you. Now, obviously, if you listen to some of the music, they rapping about popping Percocets and Zanies and Perks, and I ate 2 Perks, and I mean, that's just some straight stupidity. But like I said, who am I? I'm from another era, so this is all new to me as far as this glorifying being on dope. And it's basically heroin. Everybody knows that they're just snorting it. Some of them crush the pills up and smoke it and weed. It's nothing but heroin. Simple as that. You know what I'm saying? But I just wanted to touch bases. I think I got some other topics that I'm gonna be bringing to the table, some stuff. But I wanted to get a chief a chance. You know, because a lot of people say, "Oh man, you're just giving her a hard way to go. You're not giving her a chance." Well, I gave her a chance. It's 2024. Happy New Year to everybody. And like I said before, what has changed? What has changed? You can't even walk a dog in DC now without fear of somebody jumping out on you, pistol whipping you like they pistol whipped the female up near the Fort Tide. Split her head open. She had multiple stitches. Then she did get her dog back, from my understanding, but that's a hell of a price to pay for a dog where you get your head basically beat in. That's a scar you got to live with like a tattoo. You know what I'm saying? Over a dog? You're going to beat somebody over a dog? You know what I'm saying? I don't understand. Like I said, this is a very, very, very sick society, and without thorough law enforcement and consequences, it's gonna get a whole lot worse. And as you see, the weather's starting to touch and go, warm up. We may not have too much of a winter. Once this weather breaks, it's no police officers on the street. And normally at one time, the Metropolitan Police Department had over 4,000 officers. Today, from my understanding, they may not be even at 3,000 right now. Now, of course, they play games. They'll tell you that they have this amount of officers. Now, that's not counting officers on the street. Now, that means the officers as a whole. That's not. They're counting officers that are on non-contact pending investigations. They're counting officers on extended sick leave that are sick. They're counting officers that have details that are assigned to the station temporarily or gone to the academy to teach or whatever. They're counting them as a whole. These are not street officers. And a lot of times something else they do that they will never tell you, but I'll tell you. A lot of times things are misclassified. And I hear a lot of people talk about what statistics say this. Statistics in the Metropolitan Police Department are BS. Because a lot of times, depending on the classification, it may come in as a felony, but depending, the supervisor may want it broken down to a misdemeanor. Now, we both know that's illegal, but the average officer is not going to tell the supervisor, but sorry, this is a felony, or cap, this is a felony. Now, let's do this. We're going to do this with this, and we're classified as a misdemeanor. A lot of times when individuals are shot and go to the hospital, a lot of times they're not always classified as assault with a deadly weapon. Those classifications are sometimes changed. Sometimes they change the sick person to hospital. You'd be surprised what they do sometimes if an individual doesn't cooperate or doesn't want to say who shot him or doesn't want to be cooperative. Those classifications change. Now, regardless whether the individual wants to not cooperate or not, the classification is the classification. If somebody is shot, the classification should not be changed to sick person to hospital or injured person to hospital or things like that. It's games they play with the statistics that will blow your mind. That's why I honestly don't have a lot of faith in statistics, because I know how they can be manipulated. I've seen them manipulated by top brass a lot of times so that they can get their bonus. The commanders get a bonus. I don't know what it is. I think somebody told me maybe it's $20,000. It's something up there. If they reduce crime, I think they get a bonus or what have you. So you like anybody, that's almost like working for commission. They'll do things that are often unethical to get that commission. You know what I mean? Which I'm telling you is not right, but I'm just keeping it 100 with you. That's just how it works. But more to come. Subscribe. I haven't gone anywhere. Like I said, I just been chilling. I wanted to give this chief a chance because people say, "Oh man, you so hard on the chief. Give her a chance." Yeah, she just got in office. Give her a chance. Well, I gave her a chance. I'm back. I'm gonna start coming out with some more videos. Again, in my opinion, she means well. 52 walks or whatever she wants to do, walking in neighborhoods. That's just not gonna cut it. You never see these chiefs or top brass walking around at nighttime. 4, 5, or 3 o'clock in the evening, you got the mayor, or you might have the chief and a couple of cronies, the drivers, officers that are in good standing with some of the lieutenants or whatever driving around. You see them, the community officers, and I'm not knocking them, but nighttime, these same officers are at home because most of them work day shift hours. Now, when the riffraff starts and the drugs come back out to shoot, the chief of police is nowhere to be found. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, they've actually cleaned blocks up and basically did a clean sweep prior to the mayor arriving or prior to the chief coming out. You would be surprised what goes on. And then once the chief and the mayor goes, then everybody can come back out and play the game and sell their dope and shoot and do all the other dumb ish that they normally do. You know what I mean? Look, not gonna hold you, just let you know that I'm back. I just took a minute off to get his chief a chance because people's like, man, you're going hard on the chief. How could you do that? Give her a chance. She's new. She's a sister and all that. Look, I don't care about none of that. You are there to do a job. I could not come to the checkoff window when in my era with just a run sheet. I had to have done something on the street. The sergeants wasn't having. You could not actually turn in a blank run sheet with just, I went to all these calls. Okay, but what did you do? Did you write any tickets? You didn't make any arrests? I don't even see no traffic stops. Where your tickets at? That was a problem. If you came to check off like that at the end of your shift, it was a problem. And it should be. Because I don't believe you should be out there basically being non-productive. And that's basically what it is. I mean, the bottom line, again, you ahead of you took the oath to be the chief. So what's changed? In my opinion, absolutely nothing. I'm gone. Share, subscribe. I'm back. I never was really gone. I just took a break because they said I was going hard on the chief. Hey man, how could you do this? The chief, give her a chance. Well, I gave her a chance. Has anything changed? I'm gonna leave that to y'all. I'm gone.